In the spirit of reconciliation, I acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island peoples today. Welcome to Totally Lit, the podcast celebrating reading, writing and creating literature. I'm your host, Ky Garvey. Thank you for listening. Ben Hobson, welcome to Totally Lit.
Thank you for having me, Kylie. It's a weird feeling not to have prepared anything to go on to a talk. I normally have a list of
work.
Yeah, it can be. I normally have like questions up and everything. So I'm feel like I'm running blind.
Relax.
Yeah, too relaxed. I like a little on edge. So we'll see how we go, I guess.
I'm so pleased to have you as a guest, Ben. Maybe 6 months ago, I was at an event where you were hosting and I sidled up to you in the creepy way I often do to authors and go, "Hi, I'm Ky Garvey. I'm a big fan. I would love to have you as a guest on my show." And you agreed, and here we are. So thank you so much for that.
I think that's a big deal when, just to take a shot at those events though, right? Just to go up and talk to people. I mean, it's such a big deal, but it is pretty scary when you're starting out doing that.
It's nerve-wracking, and just remembering in your head that all authors are just people as well.
Yeah.
Although the times that I've been to events where you have been hosting and interviewing authors, I've been secretly taking notes going, "Oh, that's an amazing question."
Thank you.
So I don't want to be like a single white female kind of thing here, Ben, but I have been watching you at work and trying to improve my own interviewings.
Oh, that's lovely. It is a real skill to build. And I think being a high school teacher for as long as I have been and fielding, those sorts of questions that can come out of nowhere from teenagers, I think have served me pretty well. But it is one of my first was with Michael Connolly, one of my first interviews. And I was so scared because I don't know, Michael Connolly, I reckon there was about 1,000 people there and I was on stage.
It's a big audience.
It was big. And then in addition to that, the publicist told me that Michael can be a little shy sometimes, and not that he's too shy, just, in front of big crowds in different places, he can get a little bit non-talkative. So I felt it was my mission to sort of drag him out of his shell a little bit. And it was a challenge. It was fun. I had a really good night with Michael. It sort of set me on my course.
Amazing. Also, when you're connecting with someone that you may have not had a lot of contact with, working on getting them to feel comfortable and to trust you as well, because sometimes you don't know what questions you'll be asking. Yeah. I tend to riff a little bit and will let the conversation lead me wherever. But also the person you're interviewing needs to trust you that you're not going to throw them in a difficult situation with a question as well.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. The first question I asked Michael, and I did this especially for what you're suggesting, which is, to gain a bit of trust. I said, in 2006, you released a book called 9 Dragons, and I read that book a while ago, and I had this question about chapter 13 where you decide, and I went so specific with him for that first question because I wanted him to know I was a fan and he was in safe hands. Afterwards, he said, "I loved that question. Like no one had ever asked me that question." It was about killing a main character or something, I forget, but yeah.
It does feel good when you're having a conversation with an author and at the end they say, "Oh, thank you for asking that question," or "No one's asked me that before." And so you feel like you've achieved something.
Yeah, because as an author, sometimes there'll be a question you get asked and it does make you go back and even think about what you're doing differently. It's one of those little gold nuggets you take with you,
Now, you are quite a prolific author. You've got a number of books out at the moment. Where did you begin? At what point did you decide you were a writer?
That's a really, really big question. And you can go back in time to all those little instances, as a kid, writing little short stories and attending little workshops as a primary school student. But the main time as an adult, I guess I really started to get into pushing creative writing. I was in a band in Victoria, and I was a really shy kid in general. And in this band, I found this collective of people who pushed me and encouraged me and challenged me. But we were out on stage acting like complete maniacs. I was in a punk ska band with screaming and things. So We're
We're
called
from
Sounds Like...
family here. Love it.
Oh, well, Sounds Like Chicken, if you wanna look up our album on Spotify, it's, it's got some pirates and some trumpets and some yells. But I had to step out of my shell, and I found this family of creative people who really gave me such a boost of confidence. And then, very sadly, I met a beautiful girl up in Queensland at a friend's wedding and fell in love with her, and I had to move all the way from Victoria up to Queensland to be with her, and when I did that, I had to leave the band. And it was actually Lena, my wife, who encouraged me to go and attend university as something I'd failed high school, so it was something I never thought I could be potentially capable of. I applied, amazingly got in. I still don't know how I managed to do that as a self-taught musician, just absolutely winging it. And I got in, and when I started to study music, it wasn't that I'd lost the love of music, but it was that I'd lost that family and I'd lost that
Mhm.
real connection with people. And it was at university that I decided to start writing. And I remember when it was, I was an audiovisual technician. For people who don't know, audiovisual technicians, let's say Ford launches a new car, you'll be up all night rigging speakers and sound systems and smoke machines and lasers and lights and stage and etc. And then you'd run the show. So I was sitting at the desk listening to someone talk about budgets and, turnovers in a business sense. And it's so boring sometimes when you sit on those desks. And I started to write on the hotel pads and the pens that I had. I just started to write creatively, and I'd never done that before. And then when I got back home from that, I started to look up things on the internet about writing, creative writing, and I just started to read, joined forums on the internet, and I just really got excited. And that creative excitement, that's really, you know what it's like? It's actually like the honeymoon period when you start falling in love with a new person,
Mm.
where everything is awesome and you're excited. But like all good marriages, eventually you do have to decide to commit to being in love with this person every day, and
Mm.
wake up every day and push. So yeah, that first creative spark is such a joy. And then I started to write and wrote like everything. I was writing a young adult novel. There was some weird dragon that dripped oil. I don't really remember. And I actually managed to get a short story published very early on. I think it was even the first short story I wrote. And I remember getting a check. It was a check still. So this was in 2000 and what, like 9 or 10 or something like that, probably 2010. I got a check for $50 in the mail. It was published in Midnight Echo #4.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it was a horror. I remember thinking, "Oh, writing's easy. Like, I'm good at this." And, then another, 7 to 8 years of writing every single day and not getting anywhere. But it was a nice shot in the arm, like, I did have something there. And I did have a lot of small little successes along the way, which were a real boost because it's very difficult to persevere through. Essentially, what it feels like is that no one else sees the thing that you're making the way that you see it. And, my wife reads everything I write, but it's a different thing because it's not her writing, it's my writing. And so it's a different thing to have that self-belief to think, I've got
Mm.
something here. I think someone's going to get something out of what I've done here. And then just pushing that uphill for years and years. Like I wrote 3 full novels and a novella before I wrote another novel, which was my first published book. So I think I wrote, like, I don't know if you tallied up those words, but it would be near 300,000 words before I wrote my book.
Doesn't it make a difference having someone who believes in you, though?
It's interesting. My wife, Lena, she often talks about, I believe in you, but it was like she couldn't believe that anybody like this would happen to some people like us. It was like she thought my writing was good and great, but she thought no one's going to see that. And she sort of harbored that doubt that she didn't express. But after my book was published, she talked to me about it. But she believed in me, and it's a huge
Mm.
deal. And, even now, like, what's she doing? She's in the room next door playing Minecraft with the kids so I can be here to talk on the podcast. So
Big
she's
shout out to Lena,
a big shout
because
out to Lena.
thank
Yeah.
you, because we
She's,
have your work now.
yeah. And you need that. You need a person to champion you for sure. Well, I do at least.
Being a writer is so time-consuming and so isolating
Mm,
that you do have to say, "If I wanna do this, I need to take some time to put it into action. And that is
Yeah.
really saying to your family, I'm going to be doing this for a little while.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
guys have got to be okay with it.
Yeah. You got to back yourself.
Mm,
Can I be honest with you? I struggle with that. Even now, I struggle to do that because I feel my primary point of care is for my family.
mm,
And, if you my daily routine, like I wake up at 4:50 every day, and my writing is essentially from 5 to 6 on every other day. Every other day I go to the gym and do training. So I get about an hour every 2 days. And then I work full time. I come home and I take my kids to football training because I know I'm not gonna get endless seasons with them to do that.
yeah.
And then I cook
Mm,
dinner and then, it's a long day. I'm not gonna write at 8 o'clock. It's so fried. I need to do it first
mm,
thing. But I've always found that I've worked hard to work quickly,
yeah.
and so when I sit down, like I will get those words churning. And when I'm excited too, I'm constantly writing and thinking about scenes. And, there'll be lunch times at work where I'll write a little thing down. Or with this last thing I've been working on, I've actually been in driving and I say, Siri, take a note. And then I'll just riff. And then when I get there, I'll have text in the note form. And
Done that in the car as well when something.
yeah. Well, right. Sometimes at football training, you find in the margins, but you're right. You do have to back yourself and believe in yourself enough to say, like, this is important to me, like this
Mhm.
is something that I want to make space for.
I think it can be a challenge to pre-publication when you are an aspiring author.
Mm,
You've got to make that decision about, okay, I'm going to go all in. And I would have to confess I'm a little bit in the space of still not going all in that
yeah.
I write short stories and picture books because that's what I've got capacity to write.
Hmm.
My
When you
dream
say all in, what do you mean? Like, do you mean time wise or just?
well, time-wise and commitment to yourself and
Mm,
your art in that if you wanna write a novel that's 80,000 words, there's commitment and longevity, like, you've gotta have
yeah,
staying power to do
you
it.
do. It needs to be sustainable.
It is trying to make it fit within your life,
Yeah.
and your family commitments, and you still wanna be a present father and a present husband,
Yeah. 100%.
and also do well at your day job. So
Yeah.
how do you
Big
do all
deal.
of that? And then all the activities once you get published, then there's the other side where it's, "Oh, I need to be out selling this book. I need to
Yeah.
be engaging with my writing community."
And that
Um,
does take time. Yeah, these things do take time. Yeah, it's a big deal to have that push in yourself to actually go for all these things and actually commit and spend time apart from your family and to take time to do these things. It takes a fair bit of, I guess, courage, right? But at the same time, it's really easy to fall into the trap of feeling guilty for not writing and
yeah,
for beating yourself up. It's kind of like if you're working on being healthy, feeling guilty if you don't go to the gym each day.
yeah,
And that's a tough spot too, because if you're writing out of a sense of guilt and obligation, it can make it tricky. I think being at peace with where you're at, and then, like you say, sort of developing a bit of a system that best suits you. And it might be, to become a whale, I wrote the majority of that watching the block with Lena because we didn't get a lot of time with each other every day. And I want to spend time with her. And so while we were watching the block, I would write. And then during ad breaks, I would always pause to have a chat with her. And I'd sort of keep
mm.
one half eye on the TV.
I'm impressed that you didn't get distracted while you were writing. Uh,
I don't know what it is, but I have a good ability I'm very adaptable.
mm,
I can write wherever. I'm not one of those authors who needs the sunlight streaming through the windows at a certain time of day.
mm.
Like I wrote a short story once during parent teacher interviews when the parent didn't show up for their allotted time. So I had 20 minutes and I had this idea and I was like, all right, I'll give it a crack. And I wrote this short story and that one got published, which was really lovely.
I found that I've tapped out one story that I won an award for while I was sitting on the couch cross-legged watching TV.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
another one that I literally sat down an hour before the deadline that
Oh, wow.
really
Really?
well. I am a person that responds much better under pressure, but I am guilty of also putting myself under that pressure
Yeah. It's
as
probably too
well,
much.
because
Yeah.
somebody could go, "Oh, I know that's next week. I will start that now." But yeah, I am able to produce winning stories in a short amount of time, which is good.
Yeah.
But I would prefer a bit more consistency in my writing. So
Mm.
rather just here and there, I'd like to be able to write something well every time.
Do you mean the quality of what you produce, or do you mean like a consistent time that you sort of dedicate to writing?
I do need to create consistent, regular time for writing.
Mm.
But I just want to win everything, to be honest. I'm like,
That's fair.
if I
That's a good
write
goal.
something, I would like to get something back for it. But what happens to, like, because I'm mainly writing, like, if I see a competition, I will write something for it. And if it doesn't get anywhere, it means I've got a backlog of
Yeah.
work now. So that's good.
100%.
Um,
I have a big belief in doing a lot of work too. Like I'm very quick at writing. I'm very quick at making words, but because it's so quick and I don't labor over them too much, I'm very able to cut them and edit them and try this thing. And I'm less precious about it. Like I can't imagine spending 15 years on one thing,
mm,
and laboring over every word and then still not having that go anywhere. Like that sounds like I'd rather write 9 different books in that time and hopefully
mm.
one of them's decent.
And, like, with the work like The Death of John Lacey,
Mm,
that required research as well.
yeah.
What was that like where you had to actually also spend time researching to dedicate to that novel?
Yeah, well, researching is something that I feel is a different sort of muscle, and you can kind of flex that in a lot of different spots. I can't write on my phone because of the way it feels and just, the small screen, but I can absolutely read on my phone and
Mm,
look at websites and save things for later. And it is really about, again, just fitting that stuff in the margins. And I'll read stuff at work. I'll just always be sort of searching. And then Lacey particularly involved a great deal of working with First Nations people, the Wadawurrung people in Victoria, collaborating with an elder named Marlene Gilson near Ballarat. And she was lovely to work with, but she would send an email and then I'd respond in a few days. It's sort of like juggling a few different things.
mm,
And it's so exciting. I found a book called Gold, 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 and it
mm,
was just a dictionary of terms that and slang that people in the area would use in the
mhm,
time period where Lacey's set. And it was just a treasure trove and it's so much fun. It's like hunting for gold and finding those little morsels of, what a cradle is or what being up in the stirrups meant. And it's just really fun. It's a fun little part of the process. You feel like a magpie getting all these little
mm.
treasures.
And have you got anything in the works for the future at the moment? Is there anything boiling away?
Yeah, I'm doing a few things. I'm actually at the moment studying my master's degree in philosophy in creative writing, which is
Mhm.
practice led research. So that's got a creative portion, but it's sort of forcing my academic muscle a bit, which I've never done before, just to challenge myself. Yeah, I've come a long way. I'm not saying it's easy, but one thing I think that I'm really you know, all of us probably look at our own selves and think about all the different ways we're flawed, and I've certainly got mine. But one thing I really like about myself is that I will just have a crack. I will have a go. Maybe it's because I've been so consistently embarrassed my whole life from things not working, but I will just ask a question. And like you were talking about at the start of this, where you came up to me and felt a little awkward, like I will just go and I'll ask and I'll send the email. Snake Island has a soundtrack written for it that's on Spotify, and that
Oh,
just
that's
came.
cool.
It is cool, but it just came because I was friends with through Sounds Like Chicken. We were friends with another band who was a heavy metal band, and then this guy named Christopher Dicker transitioned into writing beautiful piano music, and I loved it so much. It reminded me of the soundtracks that Nick Cave writes
Yeah.
with Warren Ellis. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if a novel had a soundtrack? What the hell? I'll email Chris. And so I shoot him an email. He said, that sounds cool. And it's just, I had a crack and I'll have a crack at the masters. I'll write the weird book. I'll write the weird story. It feels like I'm surprising myself with my own capacities for things. So I really enjoy it. And I'm doing that, and I wrote another book that I'm currently working on, which is a real push for me. It's a first-person multi-narrative, so sort of competing narratives over similar scenes where people see the same thing but from different angles and sort of see and emphasize different parts of the narrative. Really fun, really creative, really enjoy working on it all the time. I mean, this sounds ridiculous. I wrote another book last year, and that was just based on an old idea. And I wrote it, I researched it, I labored over it, I made sure it was as good as it can be. But when I finished it, I didn't feel that sense of excitement, and I just felt really flat about it. I was like, I just feel like I ticked the box with it a bit. So I haven't shown anyone that. I've just left it sit on my desktop. So who knows what'll happen with that in the future, but I may never see anyone. And I find that feeling of creative excitement really important for the things that I do. Like, I feel like there's real life in it if I feel excited by it.
And I see that you've contributed to Into Your Arms, which is Nick Cave's songs reimagined. That must have been exciting to be part of that.
Oh, man. It was near a decade where you didn't feel you were getting anywhere. And then to have someone actually ask you to do something was just, it's an amazing feeling. And I love Nick Cave. I've been a big fan of his for a very long time. It's funny you asked this because this is exactly what I was just talking about. I wrote a whole short story and I'd mapped it out. And it's probably one of the first times I really mapped out a plot and really labored over trying to get it to emotionally have this interesting little thing at the end. And it just felt dead on arrival as soon as I finished it. And I sort of tried to tweak it, but then I was working on because you have to write based on one of his songs. The song was called Cannibal's Hymn. And there was a line in it that said, if you dine with cannibals, darling, you're bound to be eaten, but loved. And for some reason it struck me, what if there was a guy who wanted to be eaten? And so I came up with this chef in a restaurant who purposefully cuts his own thumb so he can put his own blood in all of the dishes he serves because he feels like he then has power over these people. And it was so weird and strange and kind of gross. And I wrote that and it came out so fast and it was just the most fun. I just writing about these exquisite dishes because I love cooking. So all these exquisite dishes he was making, and then it was gross and weird, and it just felt so much more interesting to me than the other thing, which felt safe is probably the word.
I am reminded of, I don't know if you've ever seen the IT Crowd.
No.
But there's an episode where they answer like a Craigslist ad kind of thing, and it's a cannibal has invited them over to be eaten, and they are confused because they just want to watch a DVD.
That's
but
funny.
they become best mates kind of thing.
That's a good premise.
So did Nick give you any feedback on what he thought of the story?
No, it wasn't. No, it was run by a few people. Mark Smith is the author who contacted me, but no, I don't even know if Nick's read any of them, honestly.
Wouldn't that be great if he has?
I would die. I would legitimately
Dear
just
Ben,
be.
I loved your story. Nick
I would
Cave.
retire. I'd be done. Well, I wouldn't do any more podcasts. It'd be enough. I'd hit the peak.
Yes, I think there are certain things in your career where you're like, oh, I can die now.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I've done the thing. I've done the thing.
You host Ben's Book Club. Would you like to tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, Ben's Book Club. It's been going for about 3 years now, and essentially it started because during, lockdown times, I was asked to do a couple of interviews, and there was one in particular that was organized by Overdrive and their platform, which is the Libby app, which you can get in libraries all around Australia. And you get ebooks and magazines and audiobooks on it for free, which is pretty cool through your library card. And because Chris Hammer and I are such, we've known each other for a while, it was just one of the most relaxed interviews I've ever done. And because, in COVID times, we weren't going anywhere, we both had a little whiskey and we were just chilling, sitting back and just old mates having a laugh. And it was just a big response from it. And the organizer named Mel, he thought, this guy, Ben, he can do these interviews. I've got someone here. And he started to call me and he said, hey, let's do something. I want to do something more consistent. And he essentially just sort of picked me out of nowhere to be the host of this club, which he named after me, which is very lovely of him. But that's where it started. And he wants to do it because he's spreading the word about Libby. He wants Libby to be the big app in all libraries across Australia. And what he painted as is it's a win-win-win-win-win. I win because I get to talk about, things that I love. He wins because he gets things to push on his app. The app wins because it gets more readers. Readers win because they get to hear from authors. Authors win because everyone wins. So it's a perfect storm. And we essentially run things exactly like this on Zoom.
Yep.
The only difference is that I'll have a live audience with a chat. And on the chat, I actually get them to ask questions, and we send a copy of the novel to the best question on the night.
Oh, awesome.
But it's a way, I really love it. It's a way for people who don't normally get to go to book launches and hear authors talk in person because maybe they live remotely, or we even have people from the UK and America tune in and they can't hear Australian authors very regularly.
Yeah.
Readers can interact with authors and ask the questions directly to them. And I sort of moderate and make sure the questions that go through are, and most people are lovely too. We've only had one or two people, not like the books and then express that to the author, which was,
awkward.
a little awkward, but it was handled very well. And it's just a really fun place to interact with readers and have them interact with authors. And authors, I think, always come away feeling it's fun to read so many different people talking about your book. It's such a treat. So
have you built like a community? Like, do you get repeat attendees?
yeah, absolutely. I started this Facebook group, which is called Ben's Book Club. But we have about 1,500 people on there now. And essentially every month, we've built up over 3 years, but essentially we run one every month. And with that one, we'll get people who are fans of that author who love it, and then they'll sort of stay. And so we sort of get extra members per one. But yeah, we've got probably a set of about 50 regulars who come every single month.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's lovely. It feels really special, like a special place that we've built. If anyone's listening to this and you want to ask questions of some authors, please check out Ben's Book Club on Facebook and join the group. It's all free. Anyone can attend. You can be in your pajamas.
Sounds like the place for me.
No videos. Only I'm on video, so I'm the only one who has to wear a shirt. Everyone else can do whatever they like.
Can we expect a tuxedo every event?
Every event, yes, a tuxedo, except for Christmas. We do a special Christmas episode every year. Every year we do Christmas with Chris. We have Chris Hammer on, and I'll wear a Santa hat, and we'll do some. I can play piano, but I don't normally do that. But maybe this year I'll do some piano.
Oh. I think building community with your readership is a wonderful and unique experience. So I'm pleased to hear that you've established that with Ben.
Yeah, and it does feel unique, and when I was in the band, that was immediate feedback. You would be playing a note and you would get immediate feedback about whether or not that felt good and people were excited by it, and you'd have people jumping up and down, and I miss that. And so this is where it's still removed. I've written, To Become a Whale was written in 2016, and I just had a person talk to me about how much that book meant to them. And I'm sort of way separate from that. It's something I did so long ago. So it's really nice to get immediate feedback on something that I'm being creative in,
And I think it gives you just that little impetus to keep writing as well. Like, because you may not feel this as much as I do, because I'm probably still considered an emerging author in many ways. But there's times when it's like, oh, what am I doing? I'm putting a lot of time into this. Should I keep going? And then you'll just get a little bit of a nudge from the universe. It's like, okay, yes, I should keep going.
Can I be really honest with you? That feeling doesn't go away. Sorry. No, yeah.
It's the bad news.
Speaking from my own experience, I've had a lot of success. I've had 3 novels published, short stories published. I'm still in the industry. I'm still working on different creative projects, but I'm contracted for each book. I have to pitch each book. And it does feel a lot of the time like the things that are particularly interesting to me aren't necessarily the things that are interesting to others. And though I might write what I feel is an amazing book and have all the confidence in the world with my ability to execute on my ideas and to be creative and do something really cool and special, it still doesn't mean that it's going to be a book anybody else wants to read. And that's that particular thing about, I don't write romantasy. I don't write straight-laced kind of crime where there's good guys and bad guys and a mystery. I don't write heartwarming dramas. And so these books types that so many people find and love, and that's great. And I love them too, but I don't know, what seems to come out of me is a bit darker and a bit more twisted and a bit more interesting. And it does feel sometimes as though it's, why do I keep on going with this stuff when no one wants to? No one's strong. That's the feeling though. I don't think that feeling's true, but that's the feeling of like, no one wants this. Why do you bother? It's a pile of junk. You should throw it in the bin. It's just that doubt and that imposter syndrome stuff.
I all feel that.
Yeah, but it's something to, I don't know. I don't know whether I hate it. I think it's an interesting little spur that sort of makes me angry. And then I sort of have to fight it a bit. And that's kind of an interesting place to work from, I think.
I think authenticity is really important, though. So I think us trying to write to trend or what we think will sell is
It's
not
impossible.
bringing your best writing.
I can't do it. I could go back through and change some things in the stuff I write to try to make it more palatable, but I don't want to. I like the stuff I do. So
just own it and write what you want to write.
Yeah.
And the universe will let you know what will get published and what won't, I think.
I don't know whether I agree with that last bit, but I do agree. I do agree. It's like the only thing you have influence over is what you're writing. That's, legitimately, and the quality of it. And so if I might write to me what is my opus and the best thing in the world, and no one else reads it, I feel like I've still been successful. And that is a tough place to come from and work from, because you write for people, you want people to read it. But I think that's my aim. Every single project I go through, I just want to be excited and challenged by it and doing something that I'm enthusiastic for. And if people want to read it, that's great. And if they don't, that's okay. I'll write another one. My experience being a creative person and then working with creative people is that creative people tend to be the most sensitive people. And that, I think, is part of why their creativity becomes so attuned to doing interesting work and writing things that really connect with readers, because they have that sort of that intuitive sense of sensitivity, but it does also understandably attach itself to searching for validation, searching for someone to tell us that we're good at what we do and we're necessary, and getting reader validation is absolutely understandable. That quest for validation doesn't go. No matter how many times people try to fill up that bucket for you, and no matter how many nice emails you get about the things you do, it's still a hole in there. It's still like there's a void in you, I think, that just is hungry for more people to say more nice stuff. And you sort of do have to learn to say that stuff to yourself, and everything else is almost at a little bit of an arm's length where you're like, that's nice and I appreciate that, but it's not telling me my self-worth. I get to say that about myself, and that's very tricky for, that's 2 decades worth of creating things that I'm speaking from. And, I still go through searching for validation in the wrong spots, but it is, I think it's an important thing.
Our own self-talk can be difficult as well. If you are not very kind to yourself, it's not good. And especially if you say, oh, that's terrible. Oh, I can't write. Why am I bothering? No one else really says that kind of thing to you.
No, not at all.
And certainly not to your face.
No.
Whereas to ourselves, we can be very unkind and we'll get one positive and maybe 10 negatives where you've had some rejections. You'll listen to all of those rejections and not pay attention to that positive. I don't know why we do that to ourselves.
We're just hardwired to feel bad. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard, hey, because part of me is driven by my need to kind of prove myself to myself and not even to anybody else. There's a bit of that as well, but it's like part of me is driven by, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to show you that I can do it.
Mm.
I'm going to go out there and I'm going to make it happen. And if you tell me I can't, I'm going to do it anyway. And there's a type of fire it lights in you a little bit. But unfortunately, the way we swallow that stuff can go down the wrong pipe, and we can start to go and do that negative self-talk thing. Yeah, you're right. I do. I'm terrible. I should give up. You're right. And it's full on. And you'll read stuff into things too when you're sensitive and you're sending work out. You'll read, oh, this person didn't email me for 2 weeks, and I saw that they saw it, and that means they hate me and they hate what I did. And then it's like when a friend sends you a thumbs up emoji on a message, and you go, okay, this person hates me. They don't like me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We overthink. That's what a sensitive person does. And it's beautiful and it's awesome and it's a superpower. But man, it can be destructive to overthink and over dramatize, I think, is a natural instinct of writers and creative people.
The good thing though is you can channel all that emotion into your work.
Yeah.
But it's not good for your mental health on a day-to-day basis.
No, not at all. And that's why I'm saying, if you place your validation in audience and readers' response, or even, publishers, if you need that to feel good about yourself, I think that there's something deeper going on. And I don't think that even if they said nice things, it's going to solve the problem. I think you have to start from a place of not needing them to say that about you. And that is tough. That is a tough spot to get to. But you need to look at your own work and feel really good about who you are, and look at the life you've made, and look at all the things you're working on, and the way you keep picking yourself up and focusing on all of the awesome things. And then not that one, like you were saying, not that one rejection slip. Like, look at how many things went right that day, and then you got one negative comment, and that's the thing that makes you feel bad for weeks. It's practice though. You got to practice that mental strategy. Like it's years and years of practice that I'm speaking from.
Well, one thing I'm really trying to do at the moment is when I'm out and someone gives me a compliment, my knee-jerk reaction is to go, oh no. And now I'm trying to say, thank you.
Although it is always awkward to get compliments from people. I get better at it, I think. I'll just say, thank you, that means a lot. And it does. It means a lot when someone says something lovely.
And especially if it's someone you respect and admire in the writing industry, and for them to give you a compliment.
Yeah,
so this may be turning into Ben's therapy club.
I was going to say to you, I think at the start of this podcast, you complimented me on my writing interviews. And so it would be interesting to go back and listen to how I responded, because I don't remember. I hope I said thank you. That's really kind of you.
We've already blocked out the start of the interview.
I don't remember. I hope I reacted that way.
It is interesting, that experience of having someone compliment you for something and just accepting the compliment and going, oh yes, I did do a good job.
100%. It's not only just okay, it's the way it should be. If you've done your best and you've done something that you're proud of, and then someone says maybe something negative about it, that's where you should go, well, no.
I think it's much why we challenge a positive, and then with the negative, we're like, oh yes,
we accept it straight away. Yeah. I had one of my first experiences doing interviews. I went to a club where they did my To Become a Whale. And, lo and behold, after what we've talked about, To Become a Whale, there's a sensitive young man in there who wants, his dad's trying to man him up by taking him to a whaling station on Morton Island. And I sat in that group, and there was, I think, about 10 people. It was beautiful. They gave me dinner. They brought me there. And then one of the guys looked me in the eye and he's like, why did you make him such a wimp?
Oh.
And I went, oh. He's like, I didn't like him at all. What a wimp. And he just kept on making stupid choices, and that's not how people act. And he got, he got into me a bit about it. This happened a few times too. Like, people feel really okay sometimes with just telling you straight up how they think. I mean, look at Goodreads reviews, right? I remember in the moment, and it's amazing that I did this. I remember in the moment not taking offense even a little, and not thinking anything negative about myself. I remember thinking, that's really saying something interesting about who you are. That you thought this kid wasn't worthy of your sympathy, or this kid here wasn't worthy of your esteem, I put it straight back and I don't know how I did this. I put it straight back on him, and I didn't say that. I just said, "Yeah, interesting thoughts, man. It's to me, he wasn't a wimp, and I just, was really de-escalated everything." It's saying something about the other people who read your stuff sometimes. I got so many negative comments on the Death of John Lacey because of my choice in that book not to use dialogue marks or speech marks,
Okay. Mm.
which was a deliberate choice for a variety of different reasons. The main reason, though, was because I just liked the way it felt when I read it, and it felt right. And I just went, you know what, that's fine. I back myself. I'll just do the thing I think is good. And, as much as I labored over the sensitivity reading and working with the Wadawurrung people, my depictions of First Nations people, there's a priest in there who's suffering some obsessive compulsive disorder. And so I liaised with people who I know suffer from that and talked to them and had them read, I went to town getting that right. The history, the thing more than any other thing that I got comments on was the dialogue marks. And that pissed me off.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just made me so mad to begin with. But I just think it's really interesting that when I read a person's book, I am on the side of the writer and I will fit in to suit the way they want to tell their story. Sometimes it's for me, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's moving, sometimes it's not. But I am not going to try to force what they're doing to shape to conform to what I want it to be.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you're doing that, if you're reading a book and you're like, well, where's my dialogue marks? I can't believe you didn't put the 2 dashes instead of the 1 dash. This is incorrect grammar. I don't know. It just feels like you're reading in a way that's dictative and not receptive. Like I'm more interested
not
in what another.
immersed in the actual story.
Yeah. I'm more interested in what the author's doing than what I want them to do. I don't know. But it's interesting. I mean, you find these things and you just say thank you. And I started off trying to argue and say, well, this is why I did it. And, that was a mistake. And that's fine. They don't have to like it. I like it.
So I have a few questions for you just for my listeners.
Sure.
Do you have any advice for a young author who's wanting to write their first novel and come out into the world? What advice have you got for them?
I mean, I could spend hours. When you're starting out, it should feel like, do you remember when you were a kid and used to build Lego sets that weren't on the instructions? And you would just build a town and you would just have the time of your life building this thing and thinking of all the different things you could do, and it's exciting, and you're just being led by your gut and you're going, you know what, I'm going to build a race car, I'm going to put a dragon head on the front, it's going to be cool. That is what I think the young writer should be aiming to feel like they're doing. Just absolutely have fun and create the thing without any expectations or any pressure about it going anywhere. I would say just write and have a blast and be as weird and funny and strange and challenging and dark as you like.
And now this one, I'd love you to tell me something about yourself that your readers and my listeners may not know.
That's one of those good questions.
I've been listening to you, Ben.
Something about me that you might not know. I don't know how much I've talked about this, or maybe I've mentioned it a couple of times, but I have gone to Mount Everest.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
All the way to the top?
No. That's a whole other level. But I went to the bottom. It was essentially like a 22-day hike in high altitude, freezing conditions, no showers. It was yak poo fires because there's no wood that grows. It was one of the most wild, adventurous things. Base camp. Went to base camp. So I saw all the tents there. Did that in 2020. My lungs went strange from the high altitude and the low oxygen. And then as we came down, COVID became a real threat. And we just essentially had to race down from base camp, which took days. And then on the flight back, I was coughing like crazy. And they call it the Kumbu cough because of just everyone who hikes up there. Your lungs get strange. And the glares I got on that plane, I tell you.
Well, they all thought you had COVID.
They did. One of the most formative things I've ever done. And you can talk to my friends about it, but I think meeting big challenges like that, you sort of keep them in your back pocket a little bit for other challenges now. And so if a person tells me that they didn't appreciate the non-dialogue marks in John Lacey, I'll say, well,
I've been
I've
to
done
Everest.
tougher things than deal with that.
I went to Falls Creek for a wedding and got out of breath there, so I don't know if I would handle it. Like, "Oh, I
We all
can't
have our
breathe."
challenges.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with me. Now,
Of
I'm gonna
course.
try a little experiment. Someone had recently said to me that I should start asking my guests to ask me a question in return, and I thought since
Oh.
you are such an expert interviewer, I would try it for the first time with you. Now I'm sweating. I can see his face. So I'm going, "Oh, no."
Oh, there's just so many good questions going through my head. Here's a question. Here's a genuine question. What about your creative writing are you most proud of?
In 2017, I entered the Grieve competition and came third, and that was the first time I had written and submitted. My story is one page after Joel McCarro's story, so I felt pretty, and Rachel Mead, a poet, was first.
Mm,
So that was something I was really proud of, to be able to achieve that as, like, the first try of entering
yeah, for
something.
sure.
And because it was the first thing I ever had in print as well, so it was, like, the
Mm,
most beautiful thing I'd ever seen, like, when you see your
mhm.
work typeset for the first
Yeah, it's
time.
pretty special.
And it was also a story about my very beloved grandmother who had passed away, so I was pleased to have had something that meant so much to me and about someone so special
Yeah,
achieve that as well. We had to fly to Newcastle and we got the award, and it was very exciting.
that's
Mm.
amazing.
When you're trying something and you're not sure if you're able to do it, that was
Yeah,
an amazing experience. Where I came from, I was a single mum with 2 little boys living in Western Sydney. The dream of being a writer was just so far away, and then to have that happen, I was like, "Oh, okay, this thing is a thing. Let's keep going with it." So
that's amazing.
that was amazing for me, and every now and then, I recently ran into someone who was at that ceremony.
Oh, wow.
"Oh, Ky, I saw you then, and I'm so thrilled to see where you are now, how far you've come."
That's awesome.
And that people remember you from little things like that as well. So,
Mm.
yeah, so that was incredible.
It sounds like a real because it's one thing to have that be significant because of the validation from the industry and what the awards mean and all those sorts of things, but that it was also like a really heartfelt, special
Yeah.
like, it feels like a real culmination of, like, 9 different boxes you're ticking to make that a really proud moment, you know?
And they had, like, actors reading the work on stage, and there were people in the audience, like, crying, and I was looking around
Wow.
going, "Oh my goodness, words are power." The emotions that you're feeling, you can ripple through that audience and everyone else is feeling it with you. Like, it was just the most amazing thing.
That is
Right.
amazing.
I wanna keep doing this for the rest of my life now.
And talk about, like, that immediate sort of response, like, I don't even know if I've ever had something like that happen with that immediate kind of audience reaction to your stuff. That's amazing.
Well, I've really enjoyed chatting with you, Ben, and I could sit here for another hour, but I do know that your family need you as well.
I need to get some Minecraft reps in pretty soon, I think.
Yep,
Yeah.
never ends. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was, you are very, very down to earth interviewer, and it's very, very it's enjoyable to be going back and forth about these creative ideas.
I
Yeah,
just love
I
to talk
appreciate it.
writing, and that is how you know you've done a good interview, because
Yep.
when your author says thank you, it's like, "Yes,
Ah,
okay, I feel good,
yeah, you
fulfilled."
please do.
Totally Lit is an independent podcast. You can help support us to continue to chat with wonderful Australian creatives by leaving a review on iTunes or sharing our socials with your friends. You can also make a contribution at www.buymeacoffee.com/Totally Lit. This will also help with equipment and podcasting platform fees. I love to interact with our listeners, so feel free to say hello either by email or social media at totallylitpodcast@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook, Insta, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and now Blue Sky. I've also created a group on Facebook called the Totally Lit Writing Community. It's a space to continue the conversation and share your writing successes, events, launches, and latest projects. Jump into the group and say hello. Thank you for listening to Totally Lit, and don't forget to go out into the world to read, write, create, ignite.